Welcome to Practical Talk Time. I'm your host, Usha Kumar. I have with me here today a wonderful elementary school math educator, Margo Gentile. She was here last week talking about her new system of using colors to learn multiplication factors. Anyway, today she's going to talk a little bit more about her product, and we're also going to talk about a little bit of what the education system is doing to help these children at the elementary school level. Please join me in welcoming Margo. Margo, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
It's so much fun chatting with you because you have so much information about this field of education, especially in the area of math where you have done so much research on your own, and you've developed this great product using colors, right? So children can remember their multiplication tables.
Right.
I want to first introduce you to the guests, those who are tuning in only today.
Okay.
And who did not watch the previous show. Could you tell briefly your background?
Oh, my background is I've been a kindergarten, first grade, second grade, regular classroom teacher for many years. I was a Head Start director for a few years. I was a collaborative teacher from K through 6 for many years. And I have had another business, which was cloth books. It was called Little Yarns, that were related to children's clothing. It was really for toddlers.
Oh, I see. Do you still do that?
No, I don't do that anymore.
Okay.
I'm into this now.
Oh, I see. How did you first come to do this as a business? And how did you get into this? How did you develop this product?
Actually, it came about as a need, because I was, as I said, my last teaching position was a collaborative teacher, and I taught from K through 6. In the 5th and 6th grades, they were starting pre-algebra, and I noticed a lot of children counting on their fingers, writing, frantically, adding numbers, repeated numbers over and over again.
Oh, in order to multiply. They know that fundamentally it's addition.
Right.
Repeated addition,
Right.
that's multiplication,
Right.
really. Yeah.
But, and it was taking them a long time to do these pre-algebra types of equations or problems, and many of them were getting very, very frustrated with it. And there was a lot of group work, and many times there'd be maybe one child in the group that really knew their multiplication facts and was on the ball and could figure out the whole thing, and the rest would kind of like sit back and not say anything and just let that one person do all the work. Or many of them would just kind of give up and just not even try. By the time they were in 5th and 6th grade, they were too embarrassed to use aids such as a multiplication chart. They were just embarrassed because they had never memorized their multiplication facts. And so they were just kind of like tuning out of math. So
did you research on this particular method while you were still teaching?
I did. Actually, I just had the idea. I knew that color had a lot to do with memory. I knew that color did enhance memory. But I didn't get throw myself into a lot of research at that point. I just thought, well, let me try this with a couple of my students. And being a collaborative teacher was great because you either worked with the whole class, or there are times when you worked with individuals or even with small groups. So I picked out a couple of individuals that I knew that were having extreme problems. And I devised this method where I would tell them, this is something new, let's try this out and see if this helps you. And they loved it. They just said, well, gee, all we have to do is know that 0 is black and 1 is yellow and 2 is orange, and it was easy for them. They almost felt like they were learning like a secret code. It was fun for them, and they liked that. And then I associated those colors and just inserted the colors for the numbers in different multiplication facts, and they knew them right off the bat. So once they got the color code down, they were able to do the multiplication facts.
How far up the multiplication table were they able to do?
We do all the single digits because that's what's required in the Common Core as far as memorizing goes.
Up to which grade?
So, this program will cover anyone in any grade. As a matter of fact, I'm working with someone using Skype who lives out in the Midwest, and she's a 17-year-old in high school who never memorized the multiplication facts.
Okay.
And I'm doing it with her. So it's really anyone who wants to be able to recall the facts much faster than they
So
can
it's not
right now.
necessarily for elementary
It's
school
not
children.
necessarily,
Even
but
an adult who does not know the
Right.
tables can go back.
Adults
and
can
learn this.
use it too, right? But it's basically, that's the age group that I basically geared it to, although others can use it.
And so this is only up to the single digit, doesn't go to 11
Right, up
times
to the
whatever.
times 9
Up to 9.
table. And
So
that's
in the
it.
Common Core, that is only up to 9, not even 10.
Yes, well, that's what
Single
they
digit.
require people to memorize, because after you get to 10, it's pretty simple. You just multiply by 1 and add a 0 at the end of the number.
Yeah.
And then the rest is by 11, it's like doing double-digit multiplication. And again, you're treating each of the numbers as a single multiplication fact. For
Well,
instance,
then that slows you down too. And now you have 2 steps.
right,
instead
right.
of 1.
There's 2 steps, but if they don't have those facts memorized,
Basically, yeah.
it's going to take them a lot longer than if they did have them memorized. So,
So till the end of elementary school, one does not have to know more than 9 times table?
right, because when you think about it, if you have, for instance, 11 times 22, I'm just picking an easy one off the top
Yeah.
of my head so I could say this quickly, but 11 times 22, you do 1 times 22, you write down the 22, again, 1 times 22, write down 22 again, and then you have the 2 that's hanging over, so bring down the 2, 2 plus 2 is 4, the other 2 that's by itself, so 242.
Yeah.
So again, it's like adding each individual
the
multiplication
multiplication,
fact.
I know, remembering my elementary school, we had to do up to 12 because I was under the British system of learning. But my siblings who went to the Indian school system, they had to learn up to 16 timetable.
Wow.
Always. And they
That's
were laughing at us.
impressive.
They were laughing at us and said, "Oh, you only know up to 12. We all know up to 16 table."
Right. That
And they
was
had to
back in the
really learn.
day. I remember
and they
that.
had to know by heart. Yeah, they
I
had to
remember that
memorize it.
too. Yes, when I was in grammar school, I believe I had to memorize up to the 12 facts as well. But
And
then
now
I,
it's just up to 10
Just-
and you think you're a genius at this point.
that all depends on how you
Very good.
apply it.
That was real progress, I would say.
I guess. But it's the trick is in how you apply those facts. If you do have to understand math and know when to use multiplication or another one of the basic operations and how to distribute those things. So, but knowing the facts themselves definitely helps with your efficiency, your accuracy.
Yeah. I'm thinking the average child will be able to memorize facts if they have to. If they're not required to, they're not going to bother with it.
Right.
But then there could always be those children who have a little more difficulty.
Right.
And for those children, I think a method like this would be
Yes.
helpful.
Definitely, it helps for someone who, is having difficulty with memorization, but it also helps with the average child because, as I said in our last talk together, that the schools are not emphasizing memorization of the facts. They're sort of like downplaying it and spending more time on understanding concepts and using critical thinking and logical reasoning. Which
But
is all great.
That's needed too.
You need
One
that,
needs
yes.
to know that.
One needs that, most definitely. I'm not putting that down, but one also needs to memorize the facts because, as I mentioned
Just
before,
for speed. Just
for speed, right?
yeah.
For speed and for processing, because the
practical
human
purpose.
brain has, a cognitive load that it can handle. And if you're going to add additional steps to something that's already multi-step, you're just causing overload. And
Yeah, but we are not even using 5% of our brain, right? According to research. and we can do a lot more with training.
Yes.
You cannot hold more in your head unless you keep training.
Right, exactly.
It's like your other endurance training for your physical exercise or for your
That's
sport.
true. That's true.
I think same thing should be done for the brain.
I think so too.
Please tell us a little bit about your product that you've come up with, because I think it's something very different.
Okay.
And does anybody else have a similar product?
Well, you know, I did a lot of research. When I was first doing this, I thought, oh, you know, it'd be silly to go through, do all this work, and then find that someone else has the same thing out there.
And you're reinventing the wheel.
So for 2 years, exactly, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So for 2 years, I very painstakingly scoured the bookstores and the educational stores and online to see if anyone had anything like this. And I was very surprised to find that no one really uses color to help with the memorization of the multiplication facts.
Yeah, and we talked before the show in our off time
Right, there
that
really
advertisers and big companies use it all the time for their products,
Exactly.
for people to remember their products,
Right.
you know, in their packaging, in their advertisements.
Right.
And
Yes.
why not use it for
Exactly.
education?
It's a great memory tool, but I have seen it used in language programs like in phonics or in spelling, but not in math. So I decided, why not try it? And I did try it with some of my students, and it worked wonderfully. So I thought, well, if no one else has it, I really want to see children become multiplication masters. I really do, because there's a lot of demands on kids today, and they have to take those 4 years of math, advanced math in high school, in order to graduate, and they need the stepping stone to get there. So that's why I created this, because a lot of kids aren't
So
getting
when
it.
did you make this first?
Well, the prototype was done in 2011, and I decided to try e-commerce first. So I developed a website, and I had a professional company help me with that. So I do have a website online, and I sell this only as an e-commerce product right now. But I do want
So
to
which year was
change and
it?
branch out. That was 2012, 1 year
Okay,
ago.
okay.
I put it online.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Could you show the product?
Sure.
Do you have it?
Okay. It started, this was my first product, and I modified it and enhanced it a little bit. And what it is there's 2 notebooks. And first, the student has to get to know the color code. And once they know the color code, and there's 15 or so different activities to get them to learn the color code. It's all
How long
fun.
does it take a child to go through from page 1 to the end of the first
not
book?
long at all. As a matter of fact, you don't have to use all of the activities because some children will catch on immediately and others may take a little more time. So you only spend 10 minutes a day on it. And I would say after 4 10-minute sessions, they would know the color code very well.
Oh, I see.
Because it's just 0 through 9 associated with 10 different colors.
And that is the repetition. And what is the second book?
And then the second one is once they know the color code, then they apply it to the multiplication facts. And again, I use the color code in the worksheets, in the games.
Can you show an example?
Sure. Let's see, I have some picked out right here. That's the color code. Okay, this is with multiplication. So for instance, this is what one of the worksheets may look like. I don't know if you could see it see it or not, but that's with
sure.
using the color code. Okay, and then here's another worksheet
Yeah, I
where they
think
have to fill in the colors
The
for
plastic
the color
sheet
code.
might be reflecting
Oh,
the
is
light.
it too shiny?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take it out. So, let's see if I could pull this out of here. Okay, there's also flashcards and games and all kinds of things, but I'll try pulling this out. Let's see. There we go.
So you do have like regular workbook and worksheets,
Yes,
basically.
yes. And this comes in a paper form, which you see here, or it can be bought on a CD, which is
Can
this.
a child just learn by himself or herself?
Yes.
Or does an adult have to first figure out how it's done and explain?
No, the nice thing about it is that the children can do a lot of these activities by themselves. They don't need an adult present. Although there's some activities that you may want an adult present.
Explain, okay.
For instance, the testing part of it,
Okay.
the pre-testing and post-testing. You may want an adult present for the games, make sure everyone's following the rules.
Yeah.
Also, I would say you may want an adult present to sometimes watch the way they do these, because you don't want a child saying, okay, I know that green is 6, so I'm going to put 6s and all these greens throughout the thing.
Yeah.
They should do it from the left to the right, writing
and
out
not
the
just
entire fact.
Because haphazard filling of numbers doesn't do
No,
them any
it doesn't do it. And then there's others, there's a spinner. This is for the 3 times table, and this goes with a game that's called Product Parade, and it goes along with this. Things are very colorful in this. Goes with
But
this.
these aren't more complicated than what it would be to just memorize?
Oh, no. This is just for memorizing, that's all. And a child can also fill in the spinner themselves if they want to. But that's just 2 out of 15 activities. So there's lots of different things to do.
Why did you use colors, for this? What kind of research went into it to know that it'll work? Or
as I said, I knew about the advertising aspect and how color attracts your attention, and I heard how it does help with retention. And I was thinking about, well, look at all the ways that people use color besides advertising. I've heard of how they use it in nursing homes.
like what kind of research has been done on that?
Well, there has been a lot of research. On my website, there is a list of all the different studies that I studied and looked at to find a basis for the premise of this color-coded multiplication system. And also, you hear of high schools color-coding their lockers for the students to be able to find their lockers easier, and nursing homes have color-coded calendars so the people can remember that on Mondays I go to the hairdresser, on Tuesday I go shopping, on Wednesdays we go for a little bus trip. So color is used in so many different ways, and I thought, well, why not with math? So I tried it with that, and as I said, there are many studies where they've had subjects trying to remember things in color versus not color, and how the color always seems to win out in the end. Or for attention, one was really interesting. They had to shoot at different things that were colored and things that were not colored, and it had to do with their attention and the number of times that. Oh, I know what it was. They had to shoot at a box, but if sometimes a color box would pop up also on the screen, and that would catch their attention so that they wouldn't be able to shoot at the box that they were supposed to aim at.
So a pop-up of color distracts a person because the focus goes into the color rather than the non-colored item.
Yeah. Okay. And also that people also remember color before they actually remember print. They remember visuals before they remember the typed word or the typed number.
What happens if a child is colorblind?
Well,
then they run into a problem,
obviously.
Or these colors are still distinct enough that you don't have an orange and a pink that they can confuse with.
Right. Yeah, they are pretty much the basic colors. The spectrum is right here, so you can see they're very distinct from one another. However, that's something that I was considering as well. I'm thinking about maybe making something that has a touch to it, some kind of texture, so that maybe they can use textures instead of just the colors, or maybe a pattern instead of just the color to help them memorize the facts.
I know, then you're getting into a whole different
Here
industry again. Because I think, because there's so much research needed for all these things and so much time.
Yes, there really is.
Obviously, you have the background and the passion and the interest in this.
Yeah.
That you've
gone
to such pains to make this.
Well, it's I do have the passion, but I also enjoy this so much. I love doing this. When I was teaching, I always loved coming up with modifying lessons or changing things so that the children that were struggling would be able to catch up with everybody else. I just love doing that.
Yeah, so what do you think of laws that come and say, hey, teacher, you cannot do, your own method, you'll have to only follow our method and teach only this to all the children?
Right. Well, so far I haven't come across any laws like that. What I think is happening is that big business is using guidelines, because they're not really laws, guidelines such as the Common Core, and structuring their textbooks and offering school systems such great deals that they can't refuse it. And then the teachers are being told, look, you have to use whatever is in this textbook because the company claims they're following the Common Core, and you have to use this and do it the way it says in there.
And that is bad, right? Because then there is this monopoly.
Right, and many times those
regional little companies can really not do well because of this.
Exactly, and they are the big conglomerates. Like Pearson. Can I say that?
I think most people know it anyway, so no harm in mentioning. Yeah, because I do know that just this one or two companies that hog the entire books business, that's just, I don't know, trillions of dollars or billions, I don't know how much it is. But for all of the country, and it'll take away the creativity and whatever is needed in individual states and individual areas, because teachers know better and they should be able to have more leeway in picking the kind of books they want to use to teach their children.
They
even
really
if they
should.
want to teach different methods.
Yeah,
as long as the curriculum is met, they should not be forced to use just that same textbook.
Exactly, and that's why another reason why I came up with this, because the textbooks that are being promoted today don't encourage the memorization of math facts, and so I've provided a supplement. That's what most teachers do today, is they supplement the curriculum that they have to follow.
Do you think teachers like this more or parents like this more?
I think it could work with both. I think ideally, I think there's a lot of tutors and paraprofessionals in schools, and I think this would work tremendously with them. This could be something they could do with them, with the students, I shouldn't say them, parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles. If they've got a niece, nephew, grandchild that's struggling, I think they would be delighted to use this, because it is a delightful program. You have fun with it.
What I'm finding with younger parents now, maybe I shouldn't generalize, but the ones that I came across recently, these are couples that have delayed marriage, and so their children have come in a little later than they came in my generation. And what's happening is they give their child, the child cannot write even the alphabets properly. And they are given all these handheld, computers that they're constantly playing with. And these kids are able to get into the smartphone, take pictures of their parents and family, whatever. And they figure it out very quickly, and the parents are so overjoyed with that. They don't spend even a minute sitting with a child on writing. And as it is, I've been really annoyed by or disappointed by the education system that has dropped the cursive handwriting.
Oh yeah, that's another
Nobody
issue.
writes writes that anymore.
And that's probably why when we were saying that the lower grades, except for kindergarten, did away with the small, the manipulatives and the hand-eye coordination. They probably thought, well, we don't need it anymore if the children aren't going to do cursive.
They think that there's no need to write at all. They think it's just enough if they can type, if they can just pick the things from there and draw. And I'm saying, why would they want to draw if they don't want to write?
Right.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. But
it doesn't.
It's kind of curious to watch what's going on. It's not that, it's not my kid, so I'm not saying anything when I meet such a parent. But I feel that this is a public forum where I It should
Yeah.
express some, dismay at parents who are also not very keen on the children writing their cursive or the longhand, and not needing to do any math or
Right.
not needing to remember any multiplication facts, and they're very happy as long as the kids can play with their computers and know how to get
Wow.
on the internet and
Yeah.
for their jokes or whatever.
Yes. Well, you bring up an excellent point, because I never thought of it that way, but you're right. This is something you can do together with your child, spend some quality time with them. The same with cursive. Now, maybe the children aren't speaking out enough, but some of the children that I tutor love writing their names in cursive.
I see.
And even though it may not be done properly because they haven't had enough experience doing
they're
it,
not learning it in
practice,
school.
right.
They're probably learning it from their parents. I think some parents still want their children to be able to write.
Children really like that. They really do want to write in cursive, but
Yeah.
they're not given that chance.
Yeah, when my son was growing up right here in the Danbury public school system, in elementary schools and other, he was only writing script, not writing the longhand. And so for a couple of years, I moved him into a parochial, school
Right.
where he learned that.
Oh, yeah.
So he is now in his 30s, but he's probably one of the few 30 or something, who can write
That's
running
so nice.
handwriting, and most people
I'm
can't.
glad he's really appreciative that you did that for him too, right?
I don't know. I hope so.
But that's nice. I think that's
We just
great.
have a minute left.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, okay.
so we've
All right.
practically run out of most of the time. Is there anything important you would like to add quickly? in
Well,
terms of-
I just wanted to say that I just would like to see more math curriculums balanced, and I think that's the way to go today. This would help if, schools carved out a little more time for memorizing the facts. I think it would help people in general. I think cut down
Thank you
on
very
remedial.
much, Margo.
Oh, sure.
It was wonderful having you, and good luck with your effort
Thank
with
you.
this modern math concept. And please try some more newer ones so more children can benefit from
Oh,
that.
yes, I will. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. I hope you'll come back sometime and tell me how it went
Oh,
with this.
love to.